Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sean Thinking Out Loud, coming to you from my secret hideout in beautiful Brazil. I hope you're all doing well today. Now, let's dive into a topic that's been buzzing around social media and political discourse lately: the manipulation of language and how it shapes our perceptions of truth. So, let's set the stage. Accusations of racism and the term Nazi thrown around like confetti at a parade. Have you noticed how these labels have begun to lose their punch? It's almost as if people are becoming desensitized. When you hear Nazi associated with Donald Trump for the umpteenth time in a month, your brain starts to go, wait a minute, are we really supposed to take this seriously? This perspective ties into postmodern philosophy, which suggests that truth is subjective. Essentially, words only carry the meaning we assign to them. This leads to a dangerous game where rhetoric can be weaponized for shock value rather than healthy dialogue. Think about it. We're all subject to manipulation campaigns, consciously or subconsciously. Take social media. Ever found yourself scrolling through your feed and suddenly realizing it's nothing but divisive content? It's the algorithm at work, showing you more of what you engage with, feeding that cycle of outrage and division. And then there's the marketing aspect of it. For example, if I mention I'm looking for light blue sneakers, suddenly my internet is flooded with ads for those very shoes. On one hand, it's kind of convenient, right? But on the other hand, it makes you wonder, what are we missing out when we let algorithms dictate our reality? I mentioned manipulation campaigns. It's fascinating how they can influence public opinion without most people even realizing it. You can see social media hashtags leading people down rabbit holes that distort the truth. Let's not forget about those performative political stunts, like when Democrats fled Texas in 2025, only to return with nothing gained. It's like watching a poorly scripted drama unfold. Here's a thought. How do we reset our minds and our feeds? Whenever I feel my social media algorithm is off the walls, I like to look at something lighthearted like videos of rolling pandas. Seriously, who can have a bad day after watching those fluffy creatures tumble around? And then there's that whole phenomenon where people intentionally create sensationalist content simply because it garners more views and engagement. A Macedonian group once admitted they didn't care about the politics, they just wanted to make money off divisive content. They were pro-Bernie and pro-Trump because that combination brought in the clicks. Imagine Bernie Sanders finding out his name was used in a money-making scheme. Irony at its finest, right? Bernie's doing his part. He's bought 3 houses so the evil billionaires can't buy them. So what are the key takeaways here? Words matter, but their meanings can be twisted by agendas. Social media can be both a tool for connection and a weapon for division. We need to be vigilant about what we consume and share. Remember that not everything you read or see is as straightforward as it seems. For those who may not be fully aware, Letitia James, the New York Attorney General, initiated a civil fraud case against Donald Trump, alleging that he had inflated the value of his assets to secure favorable loans and insurance rates. Initially, the penalties were hefty, over $500 million. However, just recently, an appellate court deemed that penalty excessive and unconstitutional under the Eighth Amendment. Now, while the court upheld the findings that Trump and his organization were liable for fraud, they vacated the financial penalty. This is a pivotal moment not just for Trump, but also raises questions about accountability in politics and the legal system. Let's break this down further. The ruling came from a deeply divided panel of 5 justices. 4 justices agreed to eliminate the massive financial penalty, but did not resolve all aspects of the case. One justice even likened it to a football game where a touchdown was awarded without actually crossing the goal line. What's particularly fascinating is that this ruling does not fully exonerate Trump. It merely vacates the financial penalty. The implications are twofold. It signals that while there is some accountability, there are limits on how punitive those consequences can be. Let's also consider the political ramifications. Trump took to Truth Social to declare victory, calling it a total victory over what he termed a political witch hunt. Meanwhile, Letitia James has stated her intent to appeal this decision. It's like watching a high-stakes chess game unfold, each move carefully calculated with both sides striving for leverage. I've already covered this case on this program, but I want to remind you that the supposed victims The banks testified for the defense. Continuing on. This brings us to an interesting point about the narrative each side is trying to craft. James, in her statement post-ruling, claimed that yet another court has ruled that the president violated the law. Her office plans to appeal to ensure that restrictions on Trump's business dealings remain in place. This is a classic legal maneuvering. She's framing her fight as one for justice against a powerful figure. Most crime fighters don't run their campaign for the job by telling people they're going to get a certain person to get the job. That's not justice, that's corruption. I live in Brazil. I'm becoming a little bit of an expert. And speaking of powerful figures, let's not forget Trump's broader influence, with statements from business leaders like Kevin O'Leary from Shark Tank expressing concerns about doing business in New York under these conditions. We see a ripple effect that could detour investments in the state. If business leaders are cautious about operating in New York due to political climates, it could have long-term economic consequences. To sum up this discussion, while the appellate court has removed the daunting financial penalty against Trump, it hasn't absolved him of liability. The political and economic fallout from these proceedings will likely continue to unfold as both sides gear up for their next battle in court. As citizens and consumers of news, it's essential to remain vigilant and informed about how these legal battles shape our political landscape and economy. We'll explore how organizations under the guise of humanitarian aid have been implicated in a troubling pipeline that has left countless children unaccounted for and at risk. So buckle up as we navigate this complex and deeply concerning landscape. On July 17, 2025, the House Committee on Homeland Security held a hearing that shed light on these shocking realities. Witnesses included key figures like Mike Howell from the Oversight Project, Ali Hopper from GUARD Against Trafficking, and Julio Rosas from Blaze Media. They presented harrowing accounts of how NGOs have received over $6 billion from the Biden-Harris administration and how their actions, or lack thereof, have endangered unaccompanied alien children, or UACs. What was revealed during this hearing will make your skin crawl, as we learn just how these organizations have facilitated mass illegal immigration while profiting from the suffering of vulnerable individuals. Let's break this down. Some core points from the hearing. Firstly, Mike Howell made a striking assertion about how NGOs have effectively become an extension of the federal government. He pointed out that under the Biden administration's open border policies, the Border Patrol has morphed into little more than a welcome center for illegal aliens. He emphasized how these organizations have incentivized dangerous migration patterns, particularly for women and children. It's haunting to think that many who sought help ended up subjected to horrific experiences along their journey. Ali Hopper echoed these sentiments, recounting alarming details about the operational failures of NGOs like Endeavors. She highlighted incidents involving poorly vetted staff and egregious oversight failures that put UACs at serious risk. The statistics are staggering. Over 325,000 children are currently unaccounted for, lost in a system that should have protected them. Another shocking revelation came from Subcommittee Chairman Michael Guest, who detailed how organizations like Endeavors and Southwest Key programs saw their revenue skyrocketed, funded almost entirely by taxpayer dollars. In just 1 year, Endeavors bumped from $52 million to $1.18 billion in revenue, an astronomical increase that raises questions about accountability and oversight. Let me share a chilling quote from Rosas during the hearing. By having this guaranteed help once they reached U.S. soil, illegal aliens had greater incentive to put their lives in danger. This insight starkly illustrates the paradox faced by those seeking a better life, a cycle of exploitation masked as assistance. And here's an interesting fact. According to reports, 70% of documentation submitted by sponsors was found to be fraudulent or incomplete. This raises serious concerns about who exactly is responsible for these vulnerable children once they enter the United States. To summarize this discussion, the NGO system designed to protect vulnerable migrants has instead become a pipeline for exploitation and human trafficking. With over 325,000 children unaccounted for and countless others subjected to abuse and neglect, we must ask ourselves, who is truly benefiting from these policies? The hearing has unveiled an urgent need for accountability and reform within these organizations and the federal systems that support them. I personally would be in favor of some arrests. I basically chose one of my books at random just to talk about. I chose Understanding Capitalism, the Dynamic Dance of Market Forces in Human Behavior. Have you ever wondered why we make the decisions we make or how those choices ripple out to affect the economy as a whole? Well, we'll uncover these connections, starting with the weight of decision making in Chapter 1 of this book. Capitalism is often described as a system driven by choice, competition, and innovation. But behind every financial transaction lies a complex interplay of human psychology and economic principles. In this, we will discuss key chapters from my ebook, Understanding Capitalism, where we explore how human nature, economic structures, and technological advancements interact to shape our world. Chapter 1, The Weight of Decision. Let's kick things off with the weight of decision making. Every choice we make comes with its own set of costs, emotional, psychological, and financial. This chapter argues that the burden of choice can significantly influence our well-being. For example, when faced with multiple options, the fear of making the wrong decision can lead to anxiety. Did you know that studies show people often prefer options that seem more certain, even if they're less beneficial? It's fascinating how human behavior can dictate economic outcomes. Chapter 2, Navigating Profit and Loss. Next, we delve into the consequences of profit and loss. These are not just numbers on a balance sheet, they are vital indicators that inform businesses and policymakers alike. Understanding how profit drives innovation while loss signals inefficiencies is crucial for navigating today's economic landscape. Chapter 3, The Mechanics of Production. As we move on to the division of labor, we see how specialization enhances productivity. Think about it. When individuals focus on specific tasks, they become masters of their craft. This concept isn't just historical, it plays a crucial role in contemporary economies as well. Chapter 4, Harnessing Efficiency. Economies of scale and scope come next. When businesses optimize production processes, they can reduce cost significantly. This leads to competitive advantages in the marketplace. A fun fact, companies like Amazon thrive on these principles, allowing them to offer lower prices and faster service. Chapter 5, Navigating Global Markets. In Chapter 5, we explore global trade and comparative advantage. Countries that specialize in what they do best can foster economic growth. For instance, Brazil's coffee production benefits from its climate, while Germany excels in engineering. This interconnectedness highlights how trade policies can shape international relations. Chapter 6, Harnessing Innovation. Then there's technology, the game changer in resource management. With every technological advancement comes an opportunity for greater efficiency and sustainability. This relationship is essential for ensuring long-term economic stability. Chapter 7, The Interplay of Prosperity, Morality, and Freedom. Finally, we arrive at the philosophical intersection of prosperity, morality, and freedom. True economic success is not solely measured by wealth. It also encompasses ethical considerations and individual freedoms. A balanced approach to governance promotes both growth and moral responsibility, an essential takeaway for any society striving for justice. Let me share a quote from economist Adam Smith. It is not from the benevolence of the butcher, the brewer, or the baker that we expect our dinner, but from their regard to their own interest. This encapsulates the essence of capitalism, how individual motivations drive collective outcomes. Did you know that according to a recent survey, nearly 60% of individuals feel overwhelmed by the choices available to them? This highlights just how profound the weight of decision-making can be in our consumer-driven society. So, what have we learned? Our choices are not just personal. They reverberate throughout our economic system. Understanding the dynamics between profit and loss, innovation and efficiency, as well as morality and freedom can help us navigate capitalism more thoughtfully. We're discussing a rather colorful exchange that erupted over a comment left on one of Grumpy Farmer's videos. It seems like the divide between urban and rural perspectives is wider than ever, and this back and forth highlights it perfectly. Our focal point, a comment from Mark, who provocatively declared MAGA farmers equals guardians of pedophiles, which he didn't spell pedophile right. Sounds ridiculous. Maybe. But it opens the door to a much larger conversation about accountability, political narratives, and how misinformation spreads like wildfire. Let's break down this comment and the exchange that followed. My response posed a straightforward question. If President Biden had similar files to those being discussed, wouldn't that be a slam dunk for his election campaign? Why didn't he capitalize on that? A valid question, right? But instead of addressing it directly, the response from our friend took a hard left turn into name calling and assumptions about MAGA supporters. This isn't just a casual YouTube spat. It reflects a larger issue in political discourse today. We see this so often, people avoiding the question, deflecting to insults rather than engaging in thoughtful dialogue. It's almost as if the avoidance speaks louder than the original question itself. And why is that? Perhaps it's easier to throw around buzzwords and stereotypes than to confront uncomfortable truths. As I was preparing for this episode, I came across a quote by George Orwell that resonates here. In a time of deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. So what does this mean when we shy away from direct questions? Are we prioritizing our political identities over honest conversations? Now, let's look at the heart of Mark's comment. He mentioned that Democrats don't care if a Democrat is prosecuted. The law matters. This statement hints at a kind of political tribalism. Shouldn't the law apply equally to everyone, regardless of party affiliation? Why is accountability so selectively applied? And how does that play into the farming community's relationship with larger political narratives? It's fascinating and a little alarming that our national dialogue has devolved into these factions where facts are secondary to loyalty. The implications of tariffs on farmers, as he noted with John Deere's layoffs, are significant, but are we having the right conversations about these impacts? So, what are the key takeaways from this exchange? First, communication is crucial. We must strive to engage in meaningful dialogue instead of resorting to stereotypes or deflections. Second, the importance of accountability transcends party lines. It's about integrity and governance. Lastly, as we navigate these discussions, let's remember that it's okay to ask tough questions and seek clear answers. In a move that feels almost cinematic, FBI agents executed a search warrant at John Bolton's residence, raising eyebrows and questions about the nation. This isn't just any raid, it's a high-profile operation that underscores the ongoing tension between former officials and the current administration. But what led to this raid? And what are the implications for accountability and transparency in our government? Let's set the stage. The FBI's focus here is reportedly on allegations of mishandled classified documents, a serious charge that carries significant legal weight. But as we dig deeper, we find ourselves navigating a complicated political narrative that could have lasting ramifications. Understand, he is not the president and doesn't have the authority to declassify documents. He's no longer a government employee and shouldn't be in possession of classified documents. To understand the implications of this raid, we first need to consider the context. Bolton's tenure as National Security Advisor was anything but ordinary. His vocal criticisms of President Trump have positioned him as a controversial figure. He's not just a former advisor, he's someone who has publicly clashed with the administration he served. Now, let's talk about the legal side. The FBI doesn't just waltz into someone's home without solid evidence. This search warrant was approved by a magistrate judge, which means there was probable cause. However, many observers are questioning if there's more to this story than just law enforcement. Bolton himself has hinted that his criticisms might put him at risk of retaliation from federal authorities. Is it possible that political motivations are interwoven with this investigation? It raises a crucial point about the intersection of national security and personal vendettas. We must ask ourselves, are these actions rooted in legitimate law enforcement, or is there an abuse of power at play? Moreover, the timing of this raid is particularly poignant. With public scrutiny surrounding the FBI's actions, especially following past operations involving Trump, perception is everything. How the FBI handles this situation will undoubtedly influence public trust in federal institutions. This could set a precedent for how investigations involving high-ranking officials are conducted moving forward. As we explore this topic, let me share a quote from John Bolton himself. I am concerned about retribution from federal authorities for my public statements. This sentiment encapsulates the fears many former officials may hold today. Fun fact, did you know that historically, investigations involving political figures often evoke intense public scrutiny? The political climate can often shape perceptions of justice and accountability. And here's another interesting nugget. According to a recent survey, nearly 60% of Americans believe that political motivations could influence FBI investigations. This shows just how deep the skepticism runs among the populace. As we wrap up this segment, let's recap the takeaways. The FBI's raid on John Bolton isn't merely a legal action, it's a reflection of deeper political tensions in America today. We're witnessing a critical moment where accountability must be pursued diligently while also safeguarding against potential misuse of power. The outcome of this investigation may redefine public perceptions of federal law enforcement and set new standards for how we hold public officials accountable amidst a polarized political landscape. The Book of Revelation, a text that's intrigued and perplexed readers for centuries, is often viewed through the lens of fear and foreboding. What if we looked at it as a tapestry of hope and resilience? Written by John the Apostle during a time of great struggle for early Christians, this apocalyptic narrative offers insights not only into divine judgment, but also into human endurance. In my upcoming book, I aim to unpack the historical context of Revelation, dive deep into its key themes, divine sovereignty, moral decay, and the timeless battle between good and evil, and examine how these themes resonate with our contemporary world. From natural disasters to political unrest, the events we witness today echo the prophecies laid out in the ancient text. Let's dive deeper into some of these key themes. First up is divine sovereignty. The book of Revelation emphasizes that despite chaos and suffering, there is a higher power orchestrating events. This theme is particularly relevant today, as many feel overwhelmed by circumstances beyond their control. How can we find comfort in knowing there's a divine plan? Next, we have moral decay. John addresses the struggles against temptation and immorality faced by early Christians, struggles that are just as pertinent now. Are we witnessing a resurgence of these issues in our society today? And then there's the eternal battle between good and evil. Revelation paints vivid imagery of this conflict, reminding us that while darkness may seem powerful, light ultimately prevails. This theme prompts us to reflect on our own roles. Are we actively choosing sides in our daily lives? I believe that through this book, readers will find that understanding Revelation isn't just about anticipating the future, it's also about preparing ourselves spiritually in the present. As I was researching, I came across a quote by theologian N.T. Wright. Revelation is not about predicting the future, it's about enabling us to live faithfully in the present. This perspective transforms how we approach the text. Did you know that throughout history, many significant events have been linked to interpretations of Revelation? From wars to social movements, people have found meaning and urgency in its pages. It's fascinating how these ancient words continue to stir thoughts and actions today. The book of Revelation and how we know it's coming to fruition aims to illuminate this complex text, encouraging readers to reflect on their spiritual preparedness amidst the chaos of modern life. It's an invitation not to read prophecy, but to engage with it, to find hope and purpose in your current reality. Recently, a study carried out in partnership between two nonprofit organizations revealed alarming data on literacy in Brazil. Till the age of 18, many young people like Paulo, who we will get to know better today, do not know how to read or write, and even after being literate, as is the case with Paulo, who only achieved this at the age of 22, access to job opportunities is still limited. But what does it really mean to be literate? To be considered literate, a person needs to be able to understand and interpret a text, express their own ideas, and perform simple mathematical operations. Unfortunately, this is a distant reality for many Brazilians. Let's go to the numbers. According to the Functional Literacy Index of Ação Educativo and the Paulo Montenegro Institute, almost 3 out of 10 Brazilians are unable to fulfill these basic steps. This represents about 40 million people between 15 and 64 years old, and the most worrying, these numbers have not changed since 2018. In addition, we have 68 million people aged 18 and over who have not completed basic education, which corresponds to more than 40% of the adult population. That's alarming, isn't it? What is happening to our education? In recent years, we have noticed the public policies have placed very little value on the education of young people and adults, and it doesn't stop there. The study also pointed to a significant increase in functional illiterates among those with higher education. 2011, this number was only 4%, but in 2024, it tripled. This leads us to the question, does having a degree really guarantee professional qualification? I can generally tell you the problem. Socialists generally don't want an informed populace, a well-educated populace. Let's look at who the first people communists generally kill. Teachers, the well-educated, entrepreneurs, anyone who can articulate an educated counter to their proposed utopia. Look at Brazil's president. He's a factory worker who couldn't read until he was a teenager. Based on his current actions, I don't think he's really great at reading comprehension either. Someone needs to send him a book on basic economics and foreign policy. To illustrate the importance of this subject, I want to share a phrase that has always impacted me. Education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. This quote from Nelson Mandela reminds us that literacy goes far beyond the act of reading and writing. It is a fundamental step towards social transformation. Did you know that there are incredible initiatives throughout Brazil that seek to reverse this situation? Nonprofit organizations are promoting literacy courses for young people and adults, seeking to offer a new chance to those who, like Paulo, have faced difficulties in the past. To summarize what we discussed today, functional literacy is a serious challenge in Brazil, affecting millions of people and limiting their opportunities. We need to reflect on how we can contribute to changing this reality. Whether through individual or collective actions, education must be a priority. You've heard it all before. Scandinavia is socialist. But is that really the whole story? Spoiler alert, it's not. So grab your coffee, settle in, and let's explore the fascinating world of Scandinavian capitalism. Now, before we dive into the meat of the discussion, let's set the stage. When people think of socialism, they often conjure images of state-run grocery stores, long queues, and limited choices, like Venezuela and Cuba. Then you will always have one loony leftist who's been to Denmark or one of those countries who babbles about those countries having grocery stores. Of course they do. They're capitalist countries. Scandinavian countries like Sweden, Norway, and Denmark are often praised for their high standard of living, robust welfare systems, and low crime rates. However, it's crucial to recognize that these nations operate within a capitalist framework. Yes, you heard that right. They have high taxes and extensive social programs, but these wouldn't be sustainable without a thriving capitalist economy to back them up. So, let's break this down. What makes Scandinavian countries unique? 1. Capitalism at its core. First and foremost, these countries are capitalist. They have vibrant markets, entrepreneurial spirit, and a strong private sector. High taxes fund public services, but don't negate the fact that businesses thrive here. 2. Welfare state as a safety net. The welfare state is often misinterpreted as socialism. In Scandinavia, it acts more as a safety net that ensures basic needs are met while still encouraging individual responsibility and market participation. 3. Low immigration rates. Another point to consider is immigration. While there are ongoing debates about the immigration policies in these countries, historically low immigration rates have contributed to their social cohesion and economic stability. 4. High taxes. Where does it go? Yes, taxes are high, but what do they fund? Quality health care, free education, and generous parental leave, all contributing to a society where people can thrive both personally and professionally. 5. Cultural context. Finally, let's talk about culture. The social contracts in Scandinavian countries are rooted in a deep trust in government institutions and community engagement, things that are often overlooked in the socialist narrative. Now, here's an interesting nugget for you. Did you know that according to the World Happiness Report 2021, Denmark has consistently ranked as one of the happiest countries in the world? This is often attributed to their work-life balance supported by both strong labor rights and business opportunities. As author Thomas Sowell once said, there are no solutions, there are only trade-offs. This couldn't be more relevant when discussing Scandinavian policies. The balance they strike between welfare and capitalism provides an insightful case study for nations grappling with similar issues. So what have we learned today? Scandinavian countries aren't socialist utopias. They're well-functioning capitalist societies with robust welfare systems designed to help their citizens thrive. Understanding this distinction is vital in our discussions about economic models and governance. 1. Capitalism forms the backbone of Scandinavian economies. 2. High taxes fund essential services without stifling individual enterprise. 3. Cultural trust and community engagement play critical roles in their success. Let's talk about where I live now. Ariquemes is located in the state of Rondônia, and it's the third largest city in the region, founded on November 21, 1977, as part of a government initiative to develop the Amazon. Ariquemes has grown into a bustling hub for commerce and tourism. The city derives its name from the Ariquemes indigenous tribe, the original inhabitants of this area, which adds a rich cultural layer to its history. Now, let's talk about what makes Ariquemes special. This city thrives on agro-industry, particularly cattle ranching and cassiterite mining. That's tin ore for those of us who aren't geologists. But beyond its economy, Aricames offers an array of attractions that truly reflect the local culture and the breathtaking nature of the Amazon. Let's start with one of the must-visit spots, the Parque Botanica. Imagine walking through the lush trail surrounded by diverse local flora and fauna. This botanical park is not just a feast for the eyes, it's also a hub for conservation efforts. If you're a nature lover, you'll want to bring your camera for those Instagram-worthy shots. Another highlight is the Feira do Produtor, which means Producers Fair in English, a local market that showcases the best of Aricame's agricultural bounty. I've shopped there. They also have lunch counters and small kitchens to buy food. My wife worked there making pastels and snacks. Here you can find fresh produce, handcrafted goods, and traditional foods. It's not just shopping, it's an immersive experience into the local culture. You can chat with farmers, taste exotic fruits, and even pick up some handmade crafts to take home as souvenirs. And let's not forget about the nature's wonders. The Cachoeiro de Santo Antonio is one of the most popular waterfalls in the area. Whether you're hiking along scenic trails, swimming in the natural ponds, or having a picnic with family and friends, this spot is perfect for outdoor enthusiasts. Aricames also has a vibrant calendar filled with local festivals. One notable event is the Expovid, or agro-industrial fair that celebrates everything from agriculture to local crafts. It's a fantastic opportunity to connect with locals and experience traditional music and dance. Did you know that Aricames was established as part of a broader effort to settle and develop the Amazon? This initiative aimed to create new opportunities for residents and promote economic growth in this stunning but often overlooked region. It was established in 1977. I'm literally older than the city I live in. And here's a quote to inspire your next adventure. Travel is about the gorgeous feeling of teetering in the unknown. Anthony Bourdain. That's exactly what Aricames offers, a chance to explore uncharted territory filled with incredible stories. They're currently putting in an airport, which will make it easier to reach it from anywhere inside Brazil. To recap, Aricames is not just another Brazilian city, it's a gateway to experiencing Amazonian culture and natural beauty, from its rich agricultural roots to its vibrant markets and stunning waterfalls. There's something here for every traveler. Whether you're looking for adventure, relaxation, or cultural immersion, Aricames is waiting for you. I figured I'd babble about another one of my books. Now, whether you're a seasoned martial artist or a curious beginner, this segment will illuminate the essence of Dragon Kenpo 2.0 and its unique approach to traditional karate. So tie your belts tight and get ready to step into the dojo of knowledge with me. Dragon Kenpo 2.0 was written by myself using my collection of various notebooks from the various martial arts I've studied, of course my black belt being in Kenpo. This book lays out the principles, history, and techniques that define this modern iteration of Kenpo, making it accessible to everyone. It took me 30 years to fill the notebook that eventually became this book. Imagine that dedication. The journey of creating Dragon Kenpo 2.0 mirrors the journey of a martial artist. It's about persistence, growth, and continual learning. In our first chapter, we explore the foundations of Dragon Kenpo 2.0, emphasizing the importance of tradition and respect. Did you know that even simple actions like bowing hold significant meaning in martial arts? It's not just a formality, it's a deep-rooted expression of gratitude and humility. Let's delve deeper into some of the core chapters. In Chapter 2, we learn about the lineage of Dragon Kenpo back to its roots, showcasing how this art has evolved over time until we reach Dragon Kenpo 2.0, containing not only the past, but my interpretation of what karate and self-defense should entail. Absolutely, it's fantastic to see how martial arts is adapted while still honoring its roots. The belt ranking system mentioned in the book serves as a vital structure for progression and learning. Speaking of progression, Chapter 8 details belt requirements, a structured guide for practitioners from yellow to black belts. Each level demands specific skills and knowledge, ensuring that students are well prepared for their martial journey. Here's a quote from Chapter 5 on mental preparedness. In the midst of chaos, clarity emerges. This reflects the principle of Mushin, the art of no mind, where mental awareness enhances performance during high-stress situations. And did you know that visualization techniques can significantly improve your combat performance? It's true. Athletes in various fields use this method to enhance their skills. As we navigate through these chapters, it becomes clear that Dragon Kempo 2.0 is more than just a collection of techniques. It's a holistic approach to martial arts that emphasizes respect, discipline, and personal growth. Each chapter builds upon the last, guiding practitioners through a meaningful journey that connects them with both their inner warrior and the broader history of martial arts. Let's sprinkle in some fun facts. Did you know that the concept of ki, or chi, or life energy, is central to many martial arts? Mastering your ki or chi can enhance your focus and overall performance in the dojo. Additionally, throughout the book, I emphasize the importance of community in martial arts. It's not just about individual prowess, but also about supporting one another in our journeys, an invaluable lesson for life beyond the dojo. So what can we take away from today's discussion? Dragon Kempo 2.0 isn't just about learning how to kick or punch. It's about cultivating a mindset and a lifestyle centered around respect, discipline, and personal growth. Whether you're flipping through its pages as a veteran black belt or starting your martial arts journey, this book offers something for everyone. Remember that every journey begins with a single step, or in this case, a single kick or punch. Just recently, Secretary of State Marco Rubio announced that effective immediately, the U.S. will halt the issuance of workers' visas for commercial truck drivers. This move is part of a broader effort by the Trump administration to tighten immigration controls. In a statement, Rubio pointed out that the increasing number of foreign drivers on U.S. roads poses risks to American lives and threatens the livelihoods of domestic truckers. But what does this really mean? Are we addressing a genuine safety concern, or are we simply scapegoating immigrant workers? Let's set the stage. The backdrop of this decision is a tragic incident that occurred on August 12th, an accident on the Florida Turnpike involving a driver from India who allegedly made an illegal U-turn. This driver was in the country illegally and has reignited fears surrounding foreign drivers on our roads. Now, while Rubio's announcement did not provide specific statistics or detailed examples to back up his claims about safety concerns, it certainly feeds into a narrative that has been prevalent since the Trump administration began its campaign against immigration. Critics of this pause argue that this is less about safety and more about xenophobia. They point out that many of the best truck drivers come from diverse backgrounds and have contributed positively to the industry. Moreover, there's an ongoing shortage of truck drivers in the U.S., a crisis exacerbated by the pandemic. According to industry reports, thousands of positions remain unfilled as demand for goods continues to rise. So, could this move actually worsen the situation rather than improve it? Here's an interesting fact. Did you know that nearly 70% of all freight in the United States is moved by trucks? That's right. The trucking industry is vital to our economy and keeping shelves stocked. So, when we talk about limiting visas for truck drivers, we're not just talking about individual livelihoods, we're talking about national supply chains. And let's remember, trucking regulations can differ significantly from state to state. For example, in California, there have been discussions about easing requirements to attract more drivers, which complicates this narrative even further. To sum it up, while the pause in worker visas for commercial truck drivers may be framed as a safety measure, it raises deeper questions about immigration policy, economic stability, and public safety. It's a complex issue that requires careful consideration rather than knee-jerk reactions. As we wrap up on a high note, telling the truth, let's get to the heart of the matter. The truth behind the numbers, the narratives, and the implications for our communities. So grab your headphones, settle in, and let's uncover the layers behind this complex issue. Illegal immigration has emerged as one of the most contentious issues in contemporary American politics. With a dramatic surge in migrants crossing U.S. borders, it's crucial to examine the fiscal impact of illegal immigration on taxpayers. Recently, Stephen A. Camarota, the Director of Research at the Center for Immigration Studies, prepared testimony that sheds light on this multifaceted topic. His insights reveal that illegal immigrants are a net fiscal drain on public resources, raising profound implications for taxpayers. But this is not just about cold, hard facts. It reflects broader societal concerns about resource allocation, community stability, and our economic landscape's future. Camarota's analysis emphasizes that while many illegal immigrants are actively employed and contribute to various taxes, including income and payroll taxes, their overall fiscal impact tends to be negative. Why? It's primarily due to their low average education levels, which leads to modest earnings and limited tax contributions. This situation renders them eligible for welfare programs, often benefiting their U.S.-born children. Since January 2021, we've seen approximately 2.7 million inadmissible aliens released into the U.S., with an additional 1.5 million individuals entering undetected, known as gotaways. The illegal immigration population has grown from about 10.2 million to around 12.8 million in just over 2 years. This unprecedented increase poses significant challenges for local governments responsible for providing essential services. Consider education. Research shows that about 69% of adult illegal immigrants lack education beyond high school, compared to only 35% of U.S.-born individuals. This educational disparity leads to lower income and tax contributions while increasing reliance on means-tested programs. Camerota estimates that each illegal immigrant creates a lifetime fiscal drain averaging around $68,000 when we balance all taxes paid against the benefits received. This staggering figure underscores the importance of educational attainment in determining economic productivity and public service costs. In terms of welfare usage, a striking 59% of households led by illegal immigrants utilize at least one major welfare program, compared to just 39% among U.S.-born households, amounting to approximately $42 billion annually in benefits for these households. Public education costs alone are pronounced, with around 4 million children of illegal immigrants attending public schools, costing taxpayers about $68 billion annually. These challenges compel us to question whether our current funding mechanisms can sustain quality education amidst rising enrollment. It's important to highlight that while illegal immigrants contribute roughly $25.9 billion in taxes annually, this figure pales in comparison to the costs they incur on public resources. This imbalance fuels an ongoing debate about how best to reform access to health care and funding mechanisms without overburdening taxpayers. A quote from Camerota resonates here. The economic contributions of illegal immigrants do not equate to fiscal responsibility. This encapsulates the essence of our discussion today. Understanding the interplay between economic activity and public financial health. As we reflect on these findings, it becomes clear that we must engage in thoughtful discussions surrounding immigration reform that considers both the economic ramifications and ethical dimensions surrounding human rights and dignity for all individuals residing within our borders. We must strike a balance between compassion and fiscal responsibility, ensuring that our immigration policies serve both current residents and future generations effectively. By fostering accessible legal pathways and strengthening support systems for both immigrants and native citizens alike, we can work toward a more equitable society. Thank you for joining me today on Sean Thinking Out Loud. If you found today's discussion enlightening, I encourage you to subscribe and share this episode with your friends and family. And don't forget to tune in every Friday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, where we delve deeper into historical contexts that shape our national values. For those interested in expanding their knowledge, I have a wide range of audiobooks and ebooks available on politics, history, and more. Check out the link in the description. Until next time, let's keep engaging in informed conversations that promote understanding and progress in our society. Stay curious and take care.